All right, Carl, let's jump right into it, man. And after you've been fighting regionally, you get picked up by PFL. How did you get this deal done? Take us through the process.
Um, my coach called me. I was actually supposed to do a bare knuckle fight in Russia on February 26th. And my coach called me. He's like, hey, I got good news. I got bad news. Which one you want first? And I was like, well, give me the bad news. He's like, well, you're not going to Russia. I was like, dang, because the payday was good, like best I've ever seen. So I was like, dang. And then and it was bare knuckle boxing. But then afterwards he was like, okay, well the good news is you're getting picked up with the PFL for the Challenge Series. I was like, that's even better. So I was excited about that. So I'm like, okay, good. So that's how that happened. He just called me. He's like, look, good news, bad news, and the good news was the PFL. And I was like, that's what I need. So yes.
Yes, for sure, man. Put a big smile on your face. But before we get into that a little bit more, bare knuckle boxing. I'm always interested to get the thoughts of someone that is in MMA, but they would take a bare knuckle boxing because it's bare knuckle. Your hands are so important to you as a fighter. Was it just because of the payday that it made it interesting for you?
No, I actually was trying to find a MMA fight, and I was, in contact with promote with trying to get the fight, and I never got a contract sent or like no like reply or anything. So I'm like, well, I like to stay active, so looking for this contract, looking for anything to get like message back, like, hey, we're on, we're off. So I didn't get any information back. So I was like, well, I need a fight, and I can't find no other MMA fights. A few opportunities came up, but it was like, hey, 2 weeks, 1 week. I'm like, my coach was like, I've done that before, but my coach was like, nah, not coming off of the holidays and different things. So they was like, look, let's get a good, decent, camp going. Um, so that's why I didn't do the other ones. And then so the bare knuckle one came up, and I was like, okay, well, it's right along the timeline of what day I wanted to fight anyway, MMA. So I was like, you're gonna get punched in the face regardless. So you know, you get more cuts with the bare knuckle, but you're gonna get punched in the face regardless. So it's like, might as well do something to stay active, you know, and that will give, because a lot of people, I think, from my fights might see the wrestling, but I do work a lot with my boxing coach, Coach Philippe, and so that would gave a different light, when it's like MMA, will strike and then maneuver. MMA always going to go to a clinch or a grappling thing. So it's like, okay, well, at least you can see the hand. So I was like, okay, well,
Yeah, well, like you said, a better opportunity came. Now you're going to debut at PFL Challenger, one against Simeon Powell, man. He's an undefeated Brit, all finishes. What is your take on him and his style?
um, some of his fights are so quick you can't really see much, but he looked long guy. I think they said he's like 6'5", so long guy. He's a striker, and then he has like submissions too as finishes. So I think he looks like a well-rounded fighter. So from looking at the film, well-rounded fighter, and he's long. So that'll be fun. I think one of my opponents was 6'4", big, but he was like a big ex-military guy. So this will be a little bit similar, long. I think the other guy was like more like just jacked. I was like, dang. So yeah. So
um,
yeah.
when you look at Powell's record, he has a win against a guy that's 0-14. Is that like a red flag to you a little bit?
Um, yes and no, because at the 205 weight class, luckily I've had certain situations where I've had people with like better records, but at 205, it's hard to find people. It's hard to find training partners. It's hard to get people to at least go and actually fight. Like some people might have better records. I'm not sure how the MMA scene is over there, but people with better records might be trying to protect it, and he might be that guy around there where it's like they might have to pay certain people, to fight him because the people who are with better records might not want to fight him because he might be that dangerous. So you could take some stuff from it, but you never know the behind the scenes. Like even for myself, like I was looking for fights for a long time, and even they offered me, like some people offered me one fight. They was like, well, if you pay for the guy to fly in and fight. And I really wanted to fight, but I was like, wait, I don't have any money like that to pay somebody to come in. So it's like, but that's the only fight they'll offer me. And I'm like the South region of the U.S. has a lot of 205ers, but to get them to actually get into the cage, that's the one thing about the PFL where it makes it great. You can't pick and choose. You're like, you're in it or you're out.
Yeah,
So,
that is great. And kind of piggybacking off what you said, you don't know the behind the scenes. A lot of people are calling this guy the next John Jones because he's so tall, and maybe because he's performing so well early on in his career. But those are some big shoes to fill, man, for
yeah.
a guy that's only 4-0. And if you go in there and you take this dude out, that's a big win for you because he was considered the John Jones, the next John Jones, right?
Yeah, but they had the other guy, not to say, but they had the other guy who actually trained with John Jones in the PFL. And then, I think the guy named Big Tuna took him out. You don't want to see people think, but you never know, man. This game is weird, so that's a good for him. It's a good compliment. It's a great compliment to be, number one pound for pound guy. So it's like to be compared to him is great, but everybody got to step in that cage, and you have to be yourself. So
Yeah, you got to prove it.
yeah.
Last year, man, was pretty busy for you. Your debut year as a professional. How did you know that you were ready to go pro after fighting amateur for a couple of years?
Couldn't find any fights. Like I would have if I could have, I would have did more. If I could have, because if you look at my amateur career, like I would do a Muay Thai, MMA fight, then a Muay Thai fight, MMA fight, then every other month. And when they like ran out of opponents, and you're calling people to fight, so I was actually supposed to go pro in March, right when the pandemic shut everything down. I was supposed to have a pro fight, and then even for that whole year, I was calling people like, "Hey, I see you guys are coming back up. Can I fight? Can I fight?" So that's why I had to take that year off. I was literally trying to be active and couldn't find anybody. So that's the only reason I really went pro. If I could, I would have got a few more fights in that year. If I could have stacked them, I would have did like two or three more fights amateur, and then at the end of the year, I had probably like 2 or 3 pro fights. That gave me like 6 or 7 fights for the year, but couldn't find opponents. And then on top of that, the pandemic happened. So, it's, yeah.
Everything happens for a reason, man. It led you to
Yeah,
this,
look where I'm at now.
right? Right. So it's all good, right? And going back to last year, you fought 3 more times after your debut. Which fight do you feel you did the most learning from?
Ooh, all of them. That sounds cliche, but the Peter New fight, that was like the big tough. Like he was supposed like, and he still is like he's a big tough guy. He's strong, and he has great jiu-jitsu. I think he's like a brown belt. So to go up against him and be able to have the control and take the fight the way that it went, that was a big okay. Everybody has like the hype train over here, and then you can like maneuver and like figure it out and break it down. And that was a tough fight. He left some marks on me. And then I would say my last fight, the loss, that was the next one. Went in there, we had a game plan, and I did not stick to the game plan at all, at all. And then that happened. I ended up losing. Triangle choke. So both of those, all of them had taught me, but those two, I would think, especially getting ready for this fight, would be the big ones that like, look, these are like key moments,
American Top Team in Atlanta, Team Lima particularly. What's the origin story there, man? I love the Lima brothers, Jucal, OG, like triple OG, you know what I mean? Like great guy.
I just left the gym. That's like I'm in gym clothes. Like I literally just walked out from training with him just now. Yeah. Origin story. I moved back to Georgia. I was, trying to get back into wrestling, and was thinking about trying to go for the Olympics for wrestling, because I was like, I need to like close off like a chapter, and then I ended up doing MMA instead. Cody Durden, who's in the UFC, we used to wrestle in high school together. So I called him up. I'm like, I see his like films, we're friends. So I see his films and stuff. Like he's training. I'm like, hey, who are you training with? He's like, you got to come to the gym, you know, and he sent me the address, and I went to the gym, you know, thinking, they have wrestling, they have everything. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for the wrestling, and MMA happened. You know, once you go to a gym, you know, you get sucked. And then especially with the Lima brothers, the coaching that the Lima brothers have and the energy and stuff like that, you get sucked into it, you know. So that's how that happened. You know, went in for wrestling, and then the MMA, it just took over. Like I did a couple rounds today with Douglas. You know, he has this big fight coming up, so did a couple rounds with him, and yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, you guys are building a solid squad over there in Atlanta. Diego, he just announced his retirement. Was that a surprise to you too?
Yes and no. They've been having he's been having a lot of stuff, good stuff going on. And, you know, me and my wife talked about it, you know, just privately, because they had the new gym open up, and he's doing a lot of like positive stuff. So I'm like, how's he gonna, like, in my head, just personally, I'm like, how's he gonna fight and do this? And I was like, he might retire soon, but he had the fight coming up too. So I was like, it's gonna fight something soon. And he posted it today. I was like, oh, I called my wife right away. But I mean, he's gonna do so much positive. You know, he never said anything, you know, because he had the fight. I think he had a fight lined up and it was supposed to be fine. I'm not sure I don't know anything about, you know, behind the scene on his stuff, but it was shocking. You kind of felt the energy, but it wasn't like known, you know.
For yourself, man, how do you see yourself winning this fight so you can punch your ticket to that 2022 PFL season?
I don't know. We've been working on the jiu-jitsu, we're working on the striking. It could go anywhere. It's, you know, whatever, match for match. So whatever he brings, you know, we'll take it and we'll just, you know, work from there. So I never really say how I see a fight going, because I thought I was gonna, like my last fight, I thought I was like, okay, we have the game plan, we go in there, strike, get him out of there, and then choke. I'm like, what the heck? So can't really say, but I do see, hopefully, do see like a W coming in. We did a lot of work, a lot of tuning, so, you know, and this is a big opportunity. I'm older, so he got time to recover. He got time, you know, he's the, you know, like you said, the future John Jones. He got time to, like, dude, he's 22, so, you know, he got time. I'm the old man in the ring, so I gotta keep going.
For sure, man. Yeah. Well, it all starts, man. February 18th, PFL Challenger 1. Good luck on the rest of the camp, and all the best in the fight, Karl.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.